Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us today, Dubious Engineering. We have Chris Smith, the Mad Maker, and he's on, and just going to show you a little clip of one of Chris's videos, which I found absolutely fantastic, which is lithophanes.
Hey people, I've been playing with 3D printed lithophanes and making these awesome photos come to life. Check it out. So the concept of lithophanes has been around for hundreds of years. They were originally made of thin porcelain and would involve etching or moulding the artwork onto the substrate and shining a light source behind to reveal the artwork. Now, thin areas, of course, let more light through, and thicker areas less. So with some skill, some quite detailed images could be represented. And there we go. Happy Picard Day, everybody.
Now, we've had a bit of a discussion about how do you pronounce that, and I believe it's lithophanes. Chris?
Correct. You think it would be faints, but no, it's lithophanes.
Fantastic. So, the Mad Maker on YouTube, and Chris, talk us through how that works. How did you create those lithophanes?
Nice and easy. Obviously, it was based on the sick animated GIF of Picard, or GIF of Picard doing a face palm.
His face palm, absolutely.
That little animated GIF, of course, has got different images, and there was roughly about 30 of them or so in total, so about a second of footage. Now, each of those images I've put onto an online lithophane generator. It has to be said, the one I use is just the one I use. There's loads of these different generators out there. You can even use your latest slicing software like Cura to do this. And it would take the image, and it would take the darker bits of the image. And I've got an example here, actually, which I'll just show you. And that will let the light through, but the darker bits, it will actually print thicker. So less light is coming through. Is that the way around? Yes. Done enough of these, I shouldn't have. So obviously when you hold it up to the light, you can see a beautiful image coming through. I don't know if you can see that, but maybe I'll show you separately.
That's fantastic, thank you. And ultimately then, you printed, I don't know how many of these, probably 30 or 40 of them, something like that. And then chopped them in, or took pictures of them, chopped them into a sequence, and recreated the Picard facepalm GIF in lithophane, 3D printed.
That's right.
Magnificent.
Some might say I have too much time on my hands.
I don't believe that for 1 second, mate. But what a fantastic, what a fantastic little movie and idea. I mean, I'm actually planning to try and maybe get a picture of the wife or something and print that in a translucent plastic, and then put some LEDs behind it, stick it in a little box, and perhaps stick it on the desk at work or something along those lines. That would be quite good fun.
Yeah, I saw on your channel you did the moon, didn't you? Which is the same sort of effect.
Yes, indeed. Exactly that, indeed, yeah. I must admit that the moon wasn't my design. The battery housing for the 18650s underneath absolutely was my design. But, and it almost fit, but no, it worked out okay in the end. But yeah, the moon itself was actually created by somebody else. I nicked that from Thingiverse. Now, some of the other stuff that you've done are exploring cheap Chinese tools on Banggood, I think.
Yeah.
So you've got a little lathe. You've got a little tiny lathe.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that tiny lathe, because there's a friend of mine recently who turned a pen for both myself and Vicky, and very kindly sent us some wood turned pens. It was really kind of them, beautiful pens. And I've noticed also that you've made some pens. So tell us about that lathe and those tools.
First of all, the lathe, absolutely love it. I started off about 2 years ago with this old thing that I just got given by a relative. It was great, but it was big, clunky, old, not very accurate. And I did a couple of pens on there. They're all right. So I thought, no, I really love this. Pens are brilliant. People use pens. You know, you feel so much satisfaction in making something that someone's actually going to use and not just shove on their mantelpiece and go, oh, look. Yeah. So I thought, no, I love this pen turning. I'm going to do more of this. It's perhaps not exactly what I want to be known well as on the channel, because I want to do sort of different stuff away from the wood turning. But it's something that originally I got the lathe to maybe think about doll's house furniture, pens, just all sorts of bits and pieces. But I've fallen in love with the tool. That has to be said. Absolutely love it. I've been making loads of really lovely pens. I've set up an Etsy store, which I'll give you a link to that in a bit as well.
Sure.
That's
Give us the link to that.
Shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to that in a bit. I've been selling a few of these pens, and I think after 2 years, I've got to the point where I'm genuinely happy that I'm making good quality pens and bits and pieces. Well, so I've sold a few on Etsy, got good reviews, and I've sold a few at craft shop as well.
Oh, fantastic!
Which I absolutely love, because you get to chat to the people one-on-one as well, which...
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody's met the maker, and I think that's actually quite an important part of the buying process. I would certainly feel a lot happier to buy something from somebody that I've actually met as well. So, by the way, what was the wood turning device that you have? What's the little lathe called? Who's it made by? Is it Myford or someone like that?
No, Myfords are good lathes, but they're old and reliable, has to be said. This is an Axminster Precision Pro. This was recommended to me originally by Chris Fisher, the blind wood turner. Absolutely amazing guy. You heard of him?
No, I haven't, but I can imagine if you are blind, you could certainly feel your way around what you're doing.
Imagine closing your eyes and touching something with a very, very sharp object, spinning around at 3,000 RPM.
Yeah, and not getting a black nail from one of the chucks. One of the chuck
black
jewels.
Now, or have something thrown in your face and possibly kill you. This man's a legend. He's so skilled. He does it all by sort of touch and hearing it and just feeling the vibration. He does start and stop because he does it safely. He doesn't just show off.
Yeah, it just doesn't get in there.
His stuff.
That's amazing. I'm going to have to check him out. I'll absolutely check him out.
Oh, you should. He's a good man as well.
Fantastic.
He recommended it as a sort of a small, a small lathe to work on the smaller bits and pieces like pens. I have to be honest, a couple of other wood turning friends of mine, John Clovier is probably the one that springs to mind the most, said, no, don't get a small lathe because you'll regret it. A bigger one because you'll come across something you want to do that's bigger, like a baseball bat or newel post or something. And sure enough, love my lathe, love it. But there has been stuff already where I've just gone, need a bigger lathe.
So talking of the tools that you're using on that lathe, then you found, Banggood I think sent you some tools to have a play around with, and I was watching this video and I loved two things about the video. First of all, I'm a machine tool sort of guy. I do enjoy and appreciate and understand, carbide tips, for instance, for metal cutting primarily. So there are different grades of carbide tips that you can buy. But when it comes to cutting wood, the likelihood of you blunting one of those carbide tips, they're not going to blunt quickly. The key things for me was the fact that you showed how they worked in a tub of margarine. You ruined a tub of margarine just for fun. I thought that was brilliant. That just put a smile on my face. And the other thing that you did... It did not
work well as a demonstration. It should have done. It should have shown how a tradition cut something really nicely and something... No, it just did not work. It just messed up a tub of margarine.
And the other thing you did was use a stud detector to establish how far the tang went back in the cheap tools versus how far the tang went back in the expensive tools, which were in the region of $120 US ago. So I mean. What a great idea! You were about to take it to a bandsaw and cut it apart to find out how far that tang went back, and then you just went, nope. You went, I'm going to use a stud detector. Brilliant, well done, good engineering work, mate.
It's not super accurate, but it does give you an idea that these cheap tools, are not unsafe, dodgy things that have got a bad reputation. They're still safe tools to use at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I was genuinely impressed. Now, don't get me wrong, the £100 Easy Wood Tools chisel is better. There's no argument there. I think I even state that in the video. But is it 5 times better? No.
No. It's not worth the money. I would certainly start on the cheaper stuff, definitely. So just to switch sort of gears quickly. Some of the things that as I was watching your videos, I was looking around your shop. I can't help myself, and some of the things that I noticed in your tool holders, there was a spoke shave, and there was a draw knife. And this is the kind of kit that you would use perhaps to make axe handles with and things like that. So do you do a lot of drawing, a lot of shaving sort of work?
No, sadly not. I don't know if you're like this, but I'm one of the makers that just has this endless list of ideas and things I want to try, things I want to do.
Yes.
And sometimes I get swept up in it. We'll buy a tool that I don't necessarily need yet. So I've not actually used the draw knife at all, other than to sharpen it.
Oh, I completely understand, mate. I've got so many things in preparation for future projects, and I must put my hand on my heart and say no. Have I used them? No. But the great news is, if I ever need to use them, they exist in my lab.
They're
so,
there.
Indeed,
exactly.
Yeah. Lots of clamps.
To do a few spoons and bits and pieces previously, but I've been thinking about building for putting in the garden, really, because there's no space in here. Little shave horse or something to use it with as well, and maybe ramping up the spoon production while we're all trapped at home.
Trapped at home, exactly. So talking of trapped at home, and let's not mention the dreaded words, but I understand that you've also been printing some shields, some face shields and masks. So how's that been going?
Really good. It's frustrating because obviously you've got the guys properly on the front line in the NHS. And not just the NHS, you've got your police, your fire, your binmen. There's loads of people just out there facing all this that's going on.
Exactly.
And of course, what can we do other than stay at home?
Yeah.
So it's frustrating that we're not able to do anything. So I thought, well, look, I've got a 3D printer. There's a call out for a massive need for PPE. Whatever your political views on this, it is a fact that there are doctors and nurses without suitable PPE.
Yeah.
So I've been making some to the best of my ability.
Well done. And so my last question, mate. You were at a show. And you were, I think you were representing or with a representative of Gorilla Glue, which is one of my favourite tools in my work. I call it a tool. I know it's a glue, a substance, but it's magnificent. It fixes it, especially 3D printed parts. If you want to, like, super glue doesn't work very well with PLA. But Gorilla Glue, done it again. Gorilla Glue, it must be the Jack and Coke. The Gorilla Glue absolutely nails it. So, where were you? What was the show, and how did you get into that?
Well, they've been sponsoring me sort of for about a year. I did a video with making a water sort of sand play table for my daughter. Just with no complicated joinery, no fixings, just assembled with simple butt joints. Anyone can do it, if they've got a saw and some glue. Nothing complicated. So I did that as a sponsored video for them. And as well as representing them a little bit, they send me a few bits of free product, which I use a lot. And not just the wood glue. They do this PU, sort of polyurethane glue as well, which is really good for the old pens, making sure the brass tubes sort of stay properly inside. So, I've been using their stuff. And they said to me, look, we're doing Makers Central. Obviously, fantastic event. And if you don't know about that, then you've been living under a rock. Yeah, I know you were there previously.
Yeah.
They said, do you want to come along? Go on the stand. We'll give you a little bit of money for your effort. I was going to be at the show representing my local makerspace. The Maker Central people very kindly gave a nice big stand for like all the UK makerspaces to be at, which was really nice of them. But I felt a bit guilty about it. I sold out. But I must admit, I really like Gorilla Glue as well. I love the product, so I felt, this is good. So yeah, I pretty much stayed on the stand for the entire weekend, not just selling glue. I mean, we didn't even sell anything. We were giving the stuff away to people to try, but just representing them, telling people my experiences of the glue, giving them advice. Did 2 talks on stage. I mean, yeah, a talk on stage of half an hour about glue. I tried to make it as exciting as I could, but let's be honest.
Yeah, that's fantastic, though, isn't it? Yeah. Well, these opportunities come around, and actually, genuinely, my thoughts on Gorilla Glue. I absolutely love it. It works a treat. So yeah, that's fantastic, Chris. Thank you ever so much for joining us today on the channel. And for those guys that don't know Chris's channel, please pop over and take a look at some of his videos. As I said, there's some pretty good videos out there, including making pens, the Chinese tools for lathes, and the 3D printed Picard face slap GIF Mimi is the one that really sort of that drew my attention to you. So Chris, thanks ever so much for joining us today. It's lovely to speak to you, mate.
You're welcome. A pleasure to chat to you, mate.
You take care. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe, and we'll catch you again. All right. Thank you.
See you later.